the U.S. Department of the Treasury has introduced unilateral sanctions on the Russian oil companies Rosneft and Lukoil. And I quote, due to the fact that there is a lack of commitment of the Russian side to the peace process in Ukraine, we view this step as counterproductive from the point of view of messages that are in favor of addressing the conflict. If the current U.S. administration will follow the example of their predecessors who tried to coerce Russia into renouncing their national interests by imposing unilateral sanctions, the result wouldn't change. They will fail, and they will strongly affect the stability of the global economy. We do not see any major obstacles to continue the process that was initiated by the Russian and U.S. presidents to identify the frameworks for the Ukrainian peace process and to achieve these results. We understand that it's a hard and laborious work, and this work shouldn't be carried out at the microphone or through the leaks and information. It should be done by diplomats, by taking diplomatic efforts, by using diplomatic toolkit. I think everything is clear in this regard. Statements made by U.S. President, they were made on October 22nd during his interaction with the Secretary General of NATO. He made even the most controversial statements. He cancelled the summit Russia-US that was proposed by the US side. We understand that the comments will be provided by the press service of the Russian president about it. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Russian Federation is open to maintaining contacts with the U.S. State Department to follow up on the understandings that were reached at the telephone conversation between the presidents of US and Russia on October 16th. We needed to stick to the parameters on various aspects of the dialogue, and as well as to continue our progress in the dialogue with regard to the Ukrainian peace process. We hope that Washington will continue to share their approaches and motives for the actions that they are taking. We would like to reaffirm that, talking about the diplomatic settlement of the Ukrainian conflict, Russia continues to adhere to the goals of the special military operation that were proclaimed in February 2022, neutral, non-bloc, non-nuclear status of Ukraine, denazification and demilitarization and development of secure guarantees for the freedom of the Russian-speaking population, as well as for providing unobstructed operations of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. This is the starting point in our work with various countries who want to make a positive contribution to the peace process. We need such a configuration of negotiated solutions that will address the root causes of the conflict and will ensure lasting peace in terms of constructing Eurasian and global system of indivisible security. Russian citizens suffered from the actions of the armed forces of Ukraine, with 1,532 persons wounded, including 88 children. 217 people are killed, including children. The office of president likes so much to talk about children. I'm not asking if they have any shame. I will respond, they have no shame at all, but they should have some logic in their statements. If they hold children dear to them, probably the office of the president should stop killing these children. Again, 217 people are killed, including 6 children. From February 2022, 24,300 people, civilians, peaceful civilians, suffered at the hands of Ukraine Nazis in total. Just look. Zelensky and his gang like to talk about the Ukrainian identity and pride, but are they not asking themselves that since they care so much about the national identity, what nationality we are talking about? But we won't face any problems taking into account the decisions that were taken by the Department of Treasury. Our country has adopted and developed solutions and continues to develop its energy potential. Again, talking about sanctions, we have just received news about a new package of sanctions imposed by the European Union. Yes, we received the news, but this decision wasn't yet published, and it wasn't presented as a document. We have just acquired this information 15 or 20 minutes ago. We will provide a detailed commentary, and we will explain what would be the consequences of these decisions, and we will do that once we understand what kind of restrictions are envisaged by a new package of sanctions. We don't, again, have details of their sanctions, but again, we would like to repeat that unilateral restrictions of the European Union are ineffective. EU elites cannot admit the obvious. Sanctions that they impose on Russia, as they conceived them, these sanctions do not work. Sanctions that they impose on Russia strike.
15th, another event on the topic of military aid to Ukraine took place in Brussels, another meeting of NATO defense ministers. So the Ukrainian Grey Masters have come. Participating as a special guest, the head of the Ukrainian military department, Denis Shmygal, openly called on each member of the alliance not only to open their wallets, but to start allocating at least 0.25% of GDP annually to the needs of the armed forces of Ukraine, which, according to his logic, would cover about half of Ukraine's defense needs, estimated for 2026 at $120 billion to create a reserve for the future. But of course, there is a grain of common sense, because considering the state of economy of aforementioned Western states, if they tie the aid to the GDP, it is quite possible that it will not raise, but it will actually diminish.